80 years ago, a Portuguese trading ship met her fate and sank in Terengganu waters off the east coast of Peninsular Malaysia. She was laden with blue and white Chinese porcelain destined for Europe, where this particular type of ware was so popular in the early 17th century. There's evidence she may have exploded before sinking. Whatever befell her, this is all that remains. A mound of pottery lying on the seabed, most of it broken, some pulverized. From the secret recesses and sanctuary of the seabed, some treasures have survived. The Wan Li shipwreck is one of 9 historical shipwrecks that span a millennium of history, and whose cargoes have survived the ravages of time, trawler nets, and looters. Sten Sjostrand has been an avid collector of ceramics for more than 20 years. It's this interest and his success as an innovative marine designer that has allowed him to fulfill what most people only dream about. He is a man that lives his passion. Over the last 10 years, Sten and his team have been patiently combing a particular stretch of this sometimes perilous sea, looking for wreck sites. He has found 9 historical shipwrecks that date from AD 960 to AD 1830. Each shipwreck is given a name, sometimes based on the location it went down, and sometimes after the Chinese emperor reigning at the time. The oldest of the 9 shipwrecks found was a Chinese junk, laden with Northern Song Dynasty ceramics, bronze gongs, and other artifacts. The ship sank off Tanjung Simpang Mangayao in Sabah, from where the shipwreck takes its name. Its 1,000-year-old cargo is believed to have contained some of the earliest goods imported into Southeast Asia. The ultimate treasure of Tanjung Simpang is, of course, its valuable contribution to archaeology and art history. And because it is the only site discovered in shallow water and close to shore, it became an excellent training ground for the budding Malaysian team of maritime archaeologists. Unfortunately, its location has been its nemesis. The ease of finding and getting to the wreck has led to extensive looting.
Each shipwreck will give us a specific date when looking at the pottery, comparing the pottery with other similar style pottery made earlier or later in time. Another factor to help us date the shipwreck is using ship's wood. Carbon-14 dating gives us a sort of a starting point for dating a shipwreck. We want to know and we want to study from shipwrecks maritime trade, extent of maritime trade, the ceramics developments, and the shipbuilding aspects. How did that change? All those factors, how did it change between the 14th and 19th century?
With the exception of the Tanjung Simpang, one interesting aspect of history that emerged is that not all these ceramics came from China. The early Chinese monopoly on ceramic export was in fact challenged between the 14th to 16th centuries by 2 rival Thai kiln complexes, Sukhothai and Sisachannalai, each making different types of traditional Chinese pottery. This may have been connected to what is known in ceramic history as the Ming Ban.
The Ming Gap is referred to the first Ming emperor, Hongwu, in 1371, who prohibited all private trade, the making of pottery, and to set sail for Southeast Asia. And so far it's been common knowledge that after 1370 there is no Chinese pots at all in export context in Southeast Asia. Now, later research have proven that that is not entirely true. There was smuggling and there were a tributary trade run by emperor in China who made some of these pots coming up.
The Turiang shipwreck, circa 1370, added new data to art history, early Ming pottery, and archaeology. It is believed that the Turiang wreck sank at a time in the 14th century, possibly around the very beginning of the Chinese Ming dynasty in AD 1368.
When we found the Turiang shipwreck, we found masses of Sukhothai fish plates, no celadons from Sisachannalai. So it could not be correct that the technique went from these kilns and down to those. because this ship didn't have any. But he did have this one on board, and he did have this one on board. So it is pretty clear with that one shipwreck that the Sukhothai kilns were in production and export production long time before the Celadon was made in China.
The Turyang's treasures comprised Yuan and Ming dynasty celadon, early Thai green glazed ware, and underglazed painted ware. The Nanyang circa 1380 is the earliest Southeast Asian ship loaded with Thai Sisachannelai celadon and Sukhothai underglazed painted plates. The wreck site was found 10 miles from Tiaman Island, a stopover for seafarers since the 9th century, and today a popular tourist spot. Longshan, circa 1400, is the largest Ming period shipwreck found fully loaded. It was an early Southeast Asian ship carrying Chinese whiteware and fine celadon plates from the Sisachannelai kilns in Thailand. Longshan's 15th century antique celadon ware are of the finest quality. The Royal Nanhai, circa 1460, is also a South China Sea shipwreck, but it was loaded with the best quality celadon ever made at the Thai Sisachannelai kilns, where the art of celadon production had been perfected. Museums and antique collectors are of the opinion that these are some of the finest 15th century celadon wares ever seen in the market. Loaded below the main cargo in a secret compartment beside the keel, a variety of artifacts were found. The Xuan shipwreck circa 1540 signaled another change in the South China Sea trade. Chinese underglazed blue and white porcelain had taken over from Thai celadon and Sukhothai underglaze in popularity, and China once again became the major exporter of porcelain. Sinking 10 years after the Xuan, the Sing Thai shipwreck, circa 1550, shows another interesting aspect of the changing times. By now, the Ming ban had been abolished, and the Chinese were allowed to trade freely again. But although the ship was built in China, it carried mostly Thai storage jars from Singburi. In an effort to understand this anomaly, Sjostrand visited the old kiln sites in Sisachannelai, Thailand, and Jingdezhen in China. He was able to match shards found at these sites to artifacts recovered from the Turyang and Wanli shipwrecks.
We're gonna go and survey for another shipwreck. And this shipwreck is very interesting. It comes from late 1500 or early 1600. It will have Chinese blue and white porcelain on board from hopefully the Wanli period. And it will fit very nicely in the existing chronology. Today we have up to 14th, 16th century, between the 14th and 16th century, and we have the 19th century. But we have not found a shipwreck yet from the 17th and 18th century. And if we were lucky this time to find that ship, it will fit in the beginning of that period. So after that, it's only another 18th century shipwreck, and then we can finish all the work we have done out here. We have a complete chronology eventually from the 14th century and all the way up to the 19th century. And from that be able to tell all about the maritime trade of the region.
How was it, Stan? Tell me all about it.
I knew you were going to be there. There's a shipwreck down there. There is a shipwreck.
Hey.
It is twisted 90% of the pottery is broken. More than 90%. It's really disheartening to see, isn't it? But interesting keel. Double plank all the way into the keel.
The Wanli shipwreck, circa 1625, named after the Chinese Emperor Wanli, who reigned from 1573 to 1620, was a rare find indeed. It dates from the time the European merchants entered Asia's maritime trade and began supplying their domestic markets with Asian products.